What's up, guys? Doomwake here. Welcome to another modern video on the channel. I hope that everybody's having a wonderful holiday season, and we are going to be playing little something old and a little something new today. So this is a project that I started working on right when the new set just came out, when Blood Fountain was introduced, and I played a couple of leagues with it. I wasn't super duper impressed, but I feel like I didn't spend enough time on it, so I want to go ahead and give it another shot. So what we are doing here is we're playing Affinity. So for those of you who don't know Affinity, this is one of the oldest archetypes in the modern format. It was one of the few archetypes that still gets played today that was played at the very first Modern Pro Tour. And what it is doing, it's fairly simple stuff, just putting a bunch of cheap and or free artifacts into play. Memnite, Ornithopter, Springleaf Drum is a little mana boost, and we're using the Affinity mechanic, which is, Frogmite, Thoughtcast. I'm sure these cards have been around forever. And then some new introductions from MH2, Sojourner's Companion, which replaced Mirror Enforcer, and then Thought Monitor, which is a newest addition. So, and then obviously Cranial Plating is another artifact payoff. So what we are doing here is we're doing a lot of the same Affinity stuff. Urza Saga is another introduction from Modern Horizons 2 that really pays you off for having a bunch of artifacts in play. Now, the new card is Blood Fountain. So what is Blood Fountain doing in this deck? I've tried Blood Fountain. This is if you didn't see the video where I rated the top 5 cards from Crimson Vow, Blood Fountain is the card that I thought was going to be the biggest player in the modern format. Hasn't really materialized like that so far. But what it's doing here is it's essentially just a 1-mana permanent that is 2 artifacts. It's a 1-mana card that is worth 2 artifacts, which allows you to play more Affinity cards. So traditionally, some of the other Affinity builds that I've seen since MH2 have been less focused on Sojourner's Companion and Thoughtcast, and more focused on Nettle Cyst, Signal Pest, stuff that you don't necessarily, stuff that is going to be good whether you draw, if your Affinity count isn't quite there for the actual Affinity cards. But with Blood Fountain being more permanents, 1 mana for 2 permanents towards Affinity, it's effectively like I guess it's like a double Rampant Growth, if you will, for your Affinity cards. So you're allowed to play, or you can play more Affinity cards. That's what we're trying here. And then the rest of the deck is pretty much just some Saga targets here. We have a Shadow Spear, which I would never leave home without in Saga. A Gingerbrute, which is kind of good because we have some powerful equipment that really benefits us from having a haste creature that also has evasion off of the Urza Saga. So the upside of putting 1 Gingerbrute in your deck is so high because you effectively have 5 copies of it, along with the 6 equipment. You can really get some surprise damage out of nowhere. Aether Spellbomb, which is really good in a deck that doesn't have removal spells. As you can see, we're not playing main deck Galvanic Blast or Dispatch or Fatal Push or any removal spells at all. So Aether Spellbomb is a good way to clear a blocker if you have, like a giant Tarmogoyf or some Construct tokens. So that's what the Spellbomb is there for. And then Welding Jar, which is good against heavy removal decks, which can help protect your Cranial Plating against Kolaghan's Command. It can help protect Urza Saga tokens against Fatal Push and things of that nature. So Welding Jar is a nice little tool to have access to. Mana base pretty straightforward. We're not playing a ton of ETB tapped lands. These lands from MH2, the artifact lands that come into play tapped and produce 2 colors of mana. We are a 2-color deck, but we only have 4 black cards and 8 blue cards, so our colored requirement is not super. It's not super excessive. And we have Springleaf Drum to make colored mana off of Urza Saga, so we don't need the colored lands as much. So I think 2 copies is probably about where you want to be. And then we're maxing it on Treasure Vault and Darksteel Citadel. Because we have so many colorless cards, we can afford to play the extra colorless lands because they're much better, because they come into play untapped, and also, essentially, they provide... Think of a Darksteel Citadel as similar to a Blood Fountain, because Darksteel Citadel gives you an artifact and makes a mana, so it's essentially 2 permanents towards the Affinity cards, similar to why we're playing Blood Fountain. And then we have, rounding out the deck with a couple of Nettle Cysts, just another good payoff. It's really good to have access to a plethora of payoffs, for... especially with the evasive creatures like Ornithopter and Thought Monitor, really goes a long way there. Then moving on to the sideboard, we are splashing for just a couple of dispatches in the sideboard because there are matchups where you definitely need extra removal, specifically against Hammer Time. You're going to really want the extra removal spells there. Metallic Rebuke, which is just the most... It's not the most efficient card. I mean, it does only cost 1 mana effectively with two artifacts. It's not like Mana Leak is going to get worse as the game progresses, but the idea of this deck is you want to kind of shut the door as quickly as possible, so we're not trying to play towards a longer game with Metallic Rebuke. It's just kind of countering that one key spell on that one turn that we need to help cross the finish line. 2 copies of Hurkyl's Recall, just in case we play against the Mirror Match, and more likely Hammer Time. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolus, 2 copies here. A card that I loved back when I was playing Dimir Food in the Asmo, Urza, that kind of stuff. And Tezzeret is a really good way to kind of juke certain sideboard cards like Stony Silence, Collector Oof, and things of that nature, where a lot of your stuff is being shut down, but Tezzeret can kind of get past that, and it's a good value card against control. We are companioning Giganta because it is free. It doesn't really cost us much outside of a sideboard slot. We only have 1 copy of Etch Champion. I think that's just because it's an expensive card, and the problem with Etch Champion is the decks that it's usually good against are like Grixis heavy removal decks, and because those decks have Ragavan specifically, they can kind of get under Etch Champion to the point where by the time you get to Etch Champion, you might already be too far behind. So we don't want to lean too much on that card. We do have 1 copy. It's just like kind of like a keep them honest kind of thing, but I wouldn't want to play a ton of Etch Champions right now. And then rounding out the sideboard, we have some more Urza Saga targets here, Pithing Needle and Soul Guide Lantern. So that's the deck list. I'm pretty excited about this one. I used to play Affinity a lot prior to the Mox Opal ban, and haven't done Affinity on the channel in I think it's about a month or so at this point. So anyways, enough talking for me. Let's get started. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 1. All right, everybody, we're back here for round number 1, League with, we're going to call this Blood Affinity. And let's see what we got. Well, I got a Saga. So this hand doesn't have black mana for Blood Fountain. We can get a Springleaf Drum off of the Urza Saga. However, we have Memnite, turn 2 Saga Plating. On the play, I think I'm willing to keep this. Would like to have a colored source of mana. I mean, we have Island to cast the Thought Monitor, which is pretty good, so we have that going for us at least. But any hand with turn 2 Saga plus Plating is kind of hard to pass up, so I think I am okay with keeping this hand. See what our opponent's up to. They didn't reveal a companion. Worth noting. Let's go to attacks first. Could be Yawgmoth. Most of the time when you don't see a companion, it's usually like Yawgmoth, Blue-Red Murktide, that kind of stuff. Alright, here's our plating. Get to make Saga tokens over the next couple of turns, which is not too bad. Stomping Ground, huh? Could be like Classic Jund, maybe? What's this? Renin 6, down tick on Memnite, sure. Alright, Memnite down. Okay. So let's make a Construct main phase so I can play the Frogmite. Yeah, because that's my 4th artifact. And the cool thing about this is even if they have Lightning Bolt, it's a 5/5, so they can't go minus Ren and Bolt the Construct. So I don't mind making the Construct main phase, if that's what they have. Alright, Catacombs back, and looks like they're passing the turn. So now we can just go make a Saga token, play a Thought Monitor, excuse me. And I think I'm willing to get the black source. I mean, at this point, it might just be better to get Welding Jar, because, you know, Abrupt Decay, Maelstrom Pulse. It doesn't, Terminate says no regenerate, so Welding Jar doesn't stop Terminate. I don't really think I need the Shadow Spear right now. I think I'm just going to get the Jar. I mean, I know I need black mana for the Blood Fountain, but I think Jar is a little bit more important. Let's play the Monitor. I could have gone for just Equip Cranial Plating, which potentially would have been better, but I'm just going to attack them, I think. I don't really think I cared that much about the Renin 6. Renin 6 is not terribly threatening at this juncture. See what they're up to. They have conceded from the game. Alright. So we don't have a ton of information about what they're doing. Again, could be Jund, could be some other stuff. Etch Champion's usually good against those sorts of decks. Rebuke, Recall, Needle could be good against Ren and 6, maybe Soul Guide Lantern. I don't want to do a ton of sideboarding here. I think what we have going on in our main deck is pretty good. So in matchups like this, I tend to trim on some of the lower impact stuff like Memnite Frogmite. And I think I'm just going to bring in the Needle and call it a day. I don't really like counterspells, because if they're playing like Classic Jund with Thoughtseize, counterspells aren't quite as good. Because they can either just, you know, take it, or they can just ignore it and know about it. So, makes things a little awkward. I'm just going to do this, I think. Just some very, very light sideboarding. I have to assume they're going to bring in Force of Vigor, which I guess is a card that you would potentially want Rebuke against, but again, until I see more of their deck, I'm kind of just going to do some light touch-ups. Okay, this hand is very good if I find a third mana source. A little bit sketchy if I don't, but we have, you know, double plating, got some good stuff, some affinity payoffs. I think I'm willing to keep this hand on the draw, because if I draw a Springleaf Drum or any land, it's quite good. Utopia Sprout. Oh, Ponza, okay. Well, no, they chose blue. Now I'm confused. There's not really a lot of reason to play the Ornithopter here. I'm just going to hold it. It's not like I'm attacking with it next turn. No reason to expose it to removal. Alright, what's this? They chose blue, which is very interesting. Kind of feels like some sort of Ponza variant. Oh, this is that 5-color Planeswalker deck. Okay, I see. Well, this deck plays 4 Karn the Great Creator, so that's not good. Oh, I guess that's a reason to play the Ornithopter, huh? Yeah. It doesn't really matter because I wasn't going to be able to play the plating anyways, so... Because the plating would have cost 3 mana. So I did kind of time walk myself, but it didn't matter too much because I wasn't going to be able to play the plating. But I really need to find a mana source here. I could have cycled the Companion that turn for land number 3 instead of playing the Thopter, and then I could play the plating the turn after. It doesn't really get me anywhere, though. This looks like Teferi. Teferi Bounce Saga. Ashiok. Okay. Ashiok prevents me from searching with Saga. It's not too bad, though. I can still get a token, as long as I find a land here. Preferably an untapped land. Okay, that's not good. So I can't cast any spells. And now I can't cycle the Companion because of the Ashiok, so... We are in a really bad spot. Bird's Paradise. For those of you interested in this 5-color Planeswalker deck, I actually uploaded a video with it a few days back. Alright, make a mana. I don't really think I have outs at this point, but I will take a draw step or two. I mean, I have 4 artifacts now, so we're getting closer to casting Thoughtcast. But don't really have a lot going on. You remove. As soon as they play a Karn, I'll probably just concede. I mean, maybe if they draw lands every turn for the next, like, 6 turns. I can't cast any spells except this Welding Jar, so I will cast that. I could have cycled the Blood Fountain, the Blood Token there, to try and find a land, but then I'm losing an artifact, which is essentially a mana source at this point, given how my hand is constructed. Alright, well, it seems like they're only drawing lands, so... You know, as bad of a spot as it is, we still got some game. Okay, didn't find a land. The fact that it makes these cost 1 mana is kind of rough. Okay, so the card that we are the absolute farthest away from is Nettle Cyst, so we can get rid of that. And then probably the third 0-mana creature. Just keep one of each. Alright. One of these days, we'll draw a land. Is this a Teferi? Narset. That's not good. That lets them find more gas. That's probably going to be good enough. Also, essentially turns off my Thought Monitors. Just can't draw 2 cards into the Narset. Teferi, Time, Raveler, huh? So now they get to bounce the Mistvault Bridge. I mean, technically they don't have a threat in play, but yeah, it's just... They return the Blood Token. That probably makes more sense. Alright, cast Ornithopter. Your turn. Guess I should have cast the Memnite there. That was wrong. But again, I don't really think it matters too much. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Yeah, that's good enough for me. Alright, game 3. Now we know what they're up to. So, they don't actually play removal spells, so I don't think Etch Champion is where I want to be. I certainly need these rebukes. Needle is very good. Spellbomb is quite bad. They don't really play creatures. Let's see. I'm going to keep all of this stuff. I can trim another Frogmite, because it's, again, just so low impact. And I want to keep the Ginger Brute. Welding Jar. Do they have... They don't have any way to, like, destroy an artifact. Yeah, I'm going to cut the Welding Jar. I'm going to do this. Alright, we get to be on the play. We get our rebukes in, which is good now that we know what we're up against. Alright, I will be on the play. Reveal Giganta. And we got a No-Lander, so we'll ship that back. Alright, how good is this hand? This hand is turn 1, Glimmer Void, Memnite, Memnite, Drum, hold up Rebuke, maybe ship the second Companion, because I only have 3 artifacts. This hand inherently doesn't really do all that much, but it's got a lot of upside, so... Question is... Oh, I guess I can't Rebuke on turn 1, because I only have... Yeah, I can't quite Rebuke on turn 1. We're close, but not quite there. I was going to say, if I could Rebuke a turn 1 play, would I Rebuke their Utopia Sprawl? Alright, Bridge, attack for 1 so I can hold up Rebuke. Kind of makes it obvious what I have, but... I certainly need to Rebuke a Ren and 6. And now I have 4 artifacts, so I can cast the Sojourner's Companion next turn. So we can Rebuke their play, then play the Companion. Hopefully that's good enough. Hopefully find some action. So blue, that, Rebuke that, we'll play a Companion. Let's see what we draw. Drew a Shadow Spear, which is essentially free with the Companion. Alright, this is all I got. Attack for 1. Well, I guess we have Giganta, which we can pick up next turn. Okay, Ren and 6. They probably have to uptick here, right? No. Oh, they have lands in their hand, okay. Alright, so... It's not a bad draw. So now I think it's more beneficial for us to do it like this, so we can kill the Ren and 6 while also attacking them for 4, instead of picking up Giganta. Just because, I only have 4 mana sources towards the Giganta anyways, and B, my next turn is going to be tied up in doing this. So Giganta's not really going to be on my plate for next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can main phase make a construct for the 6th artifact to play the Monitor. Let's attack first. They didn't play anything last turn. Interesting. I wonder what that means. I don't think their deck has sweepers. Maybe they just have a bunch of planeswalkers they can't cast. Double blue stuff? Yeah, I guess that was their hand. Well, I mean, the thing is, their deck is like Teferi, Ashiok, Jace, Narset, so they probably had a lot of those cards that they couldn't cast, but... yeah, that was an interesting match. I mean, I guess not really game 3. Our opponent didn't do too much the 2 games that we won, but anyways, we're 1-0, and I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 2. Alright, everybody, we're back here for round number 2 of our League with Blood Affinity. We are on the play. Go ahead and show our opponent our Giganta. I can't speak today. Let's see. Opponent's got a Lurrus. That could be Hammer Time. The Hammer Time matchup is not very good for this deck. Think of Hammer Time as just like, kind of... it's essentially just a better Affinity deck, because they're more explosive. This hand is... I think if I knew for a fact my opponent was playing a mid-range Lurrus deck, like Saga or Grixis or Jund or something like that, then I think I would keep this hand, but it's just a little too risky, I think. Okay, this hand is actually not that bad. I can put back the second Blood Fountain. We get to go turn 1, Vault, Drum, Memnite, Blood Fountain. If I don't draw a land, I can Plating on turn 2. Yeah, this hand's actually quite good. I'll keep this. So let's go Treasure Vault, Springleaf Drum, Memnite, and black for Blood Fountain. So that's 5 artifacts on turn 1. I can actually just cast the Thought Monitor. Drawing a land would be the best because I can go Plating into Monitor, which is probably our best shot against the... Okay, not Hammer Time. That's much better for us. Looks like they're some sort of prowess deck because they revealed Luris, not Obosh. Which means no Blood Moon, so that's good to know. Alright, bobbling me. Alright, they know our top card. It is indeed a lamb, which is pretty good. So now let's go Vault, Plating, Monitor. Kind of just going off here. You know, cast that too. Okay, well, pretty good mulligan to 6, if I do say so myself. Not a bad mulligan to 6. I mean, you know, that's kind of what Blood Fountain offers you. Like, when you're on lower resources, Blood Fountain being 2 artifacts in 1 card just allows you to have these way more explosive draws when you're, you know, lower on cards, which is why I love it so much. Also a fantastic draw. Alright, we're going to start things off with a Thoughtcast. Go from there. Alright, let's do this. Can't cast the Monitor because I don't have blue. I guess I could, actually. I could sack the Treasure Vault just to play the Monitor. That, honestly, might be worth it. Yeah, let's go to attacks. No plating. The reason I don't want a plating is because there's a good chance they have a removal spell anyway, so I think I'd rather just go wide. I could have plating the Sojourner's Companion, which wouldn't have been too bad, but maybe that would have been a better play if I just plating up the Companion. And they binned a Blood Crypt. That's interesting. Oh, this is just, this is Spike's deck. What am I saying? This isn't Prowess. This is Spike's deck. Yeah. The Rakdos Luris midrange. I don't know why I thought it was Prowess. Okay, so let's do this. Let's sack this. X equals 1. Play this Thought Monitor. This might be a little too aggressive, just like sacrificing a land to play a Monitor, but I don't really know how they get out of this. Yeah, okay, they agree. So, we are on to game number 2 against Rakdos Luris. So, we're going to keep our Gigant on the sideboard. I think Tezzeret's too slow. I do quite enjoy Etch Champion. Not a fan of Rebuke against the Luris decks because they're just too efficient most of the time. So trying to, you know, trade, you're trying to trade on a one-for-one basis like that. But on the draw, especially against a deck that has so many 1-mana cards, it's just kind of not where you want to be. I like the Lantern. Needle doesn't really do all that much. You can stop explosives, but I'm not a huge fan of Needle. They have Kolaghan's Command too, so the question is, do we want Dispatch? So I'm going to cut a couple of Memnites. Actually, no, they have Ragavan. I'm going to cut one of each, I think. Usually I cut 2 Memnites. This time I'll cut one of each. Still trimming a Frogmite. And how good is Aether Spellbomb? Aether Spellbomb. The problem with their creatures are, I guess it's good against Kroxa. And that's mostly it. I don't really think you need the Ginger Brute. Well, I think I'm going to go 2 Dispatches. I don't want to go a ton of removal because I don't want to overload on it, but I think 2 is okay. We'll try this. And I think you want to keep most of your like actual payoffs. Like, I don't mind trimming on the Frogmite, Memnite, Ornithopter stuff because, generally speaking, against an opponent who has a lot of removal, those cards do get a little bit worse after sideboarding, so that's kind of the premise behind cutting those. This hand is a turn 2 Frogmite, turn 3 Etch Champion. Is that too slow? If this hand draws a Glimmer Void or a Springleaf Drum, it's actually quite good because I get to turn on the Dispatches. I have a White Source technically in my hand, but it's, you know, it's a really slow White Source. You know what? I'm going to try this hand. I think this hand is really close, and maybe it's too bad against the Thoughtseize because they just take my champion, but... Because if they Thoughtseize me, then I basically have no action. Okay. It's not the best draw, but it's actually not the worst draw. See, now a drum would actually be insane, because I could go land, drum, tap mana, Frogmite, free Frogmite, and hold up Dispatch. So yeah, drum is easily my best draw here. Alright, they probably don't have Thoughtseize because they're attacking first. If they had Thoughtseize, they probably would have main phased it to try and hit Delirium. Alright, did not find a drum. Playing the Citadel because that's the one they know about because they bobbled me, I believe. Let me just double check. They bobbled... No, they bobbled themselves, okay. I mean, Etch Champion plus double Darksteel Citadel might just be, you know, kind of close to a hard lock. Well, double Indestructible, and this is obviously also Indestructible, but... There's no way they're just picking up Lurrus, right? They have to have something else to do. Wow. Maybe their hand's all removal. Okay, so because these are both indestructible, I can afford to play the Saga this turn. Although, if I don't play the Saga, I would be able to play the Frogmite. I think it's more important to get the Saga in play. And they're both indestructible anyways, so it's not like they can blow up one of these lands and kill the champion. I'm trying to think of, like, what could happen. I mean, obviously, if they have an Edict effect, then whether, you know, the Frogmite would play around that. But if they have, like, removal spell plus Edict effect, then it doesn't matter. I guess this is also worse if they have Alpine Moon, but again, I think it's okay. I want to get the Saga down as quick as possible. Just play the Frogmite next turn. And then I'm going to be looking to get a white source with this so I can cast these dispatches. What do we got? Maybe a Turok? Okay. Let's see what they hit. They hit both of my lands, which, honestly, kind of okay with that, all things considered. Because I don't really need lands, especially the colorless lands. Okay, now I kind of wish I had a land. Am I going beatdowns with the champion? Given the fact that I'm going to make a Saga token here, I think it's okay. I can get a little aggressive. I'm main phasing the token so I can play the Frogmite for free. I mean, sure, if they have a removal spell for the token, they get to hit me with the Turok, but I think I'm just trying to race here. And I think worst case scenario is like they kill this, hit me with the Turok, then I can maybe pump the brakes next turn, depending on what happens. Because remember, I'm also getting white mana to cast the Dispatch next turn, so they're going to kill both of those. Yeah, that makes sense for that to be in their hand. So instant land artifact right now for card types for Channeler. Alright, so I'm on 3 artifacts. This would be artifact number 4. Okay, now the question is, what do we get? I do think I am supposed to get the drum, because it allows me to cast the dispatches. So what I think I'm going to do is go get drum, and I'm just going to main phase the dispatch. And I'm not attacking this turn. I'm going to leave up the champion. Basically, at this point, I don't want to attack until I find a plating or a nettle cyst, so I can suit this thing up. And then my attack is so much better. Man, no attacks. Main phasing the dispatch because I don't want them to untap and be able to cast like a 2 or 3 mana spell and get a surveil trigger off of it, because I know I'm just going to do it anyways. And we still have a backup dispatch for the Lurrus, which it seems like they might be casting. No, okay. So they got a dispatch and a companion. It's not too bad. Again, this still holds off their entire offense, so kind of okay with that. So this is 5 artifacts. This would be 7, and then I can cast the companion. And then I can attack with an 8/8. Again, leave back the champion. which they can't trade. They can chump block if they want, but now this is a 2-turn clock, which is quite good. They basically need a removal spell for this. I mean, they can go Luris chump block. Yeah, I guess they could go Luris Bobble chump block with the Turok, maybe? We'll see. See what happens. Hopefully it was draw plating. Make it easy. Plating up the champion. They bobbled me. So they know what we're drawing. Is it a good one? EE for 0. Alright. Let's see what the top card is. Is it a plating? Plating should be lethal, right? Even if they kill these two things. I think plating's lethal. That one's pretty good too. I'll take that. Okay, that should be game. I believe so. Yeah, this is game. I think it's Xaxes. No, it's 1 over. Alright, cool. 2-0 with Affinity. That was a sweet game. I think maybe that one turn that I attacked with Champion might have been bad, and then I, eventually held it back to blank the Turok. But, I mean, that's the thing. Champion is absurd in matchups like this, but even when Champion is good, sometimes you're on the draw against, like, a fast Ragavan discard spell start. Sometimes you just don't have time for that kind of stuff. But shined a lot this game, so 2-0. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 3. All right, everybody, round number 3. We are 2-0 with Affinity. Let's keep it going. Playing Luris again. Well, this hand is really good. Let's hope it's not hammer time. We get to go turn 1, Treasure Vault, Springleaf Drum, Memnite, Frogmite. I could play Saga on 1 and not play the Frogmite. We'll see what they're up to. So there's basically two ways you can go with this hand. You can play Saga, Drum, pass, no Memnite, because you don't want to expose the Memnite to a removal spell, because then you can go land, Memnite, make a Saga token, and it plays around them having like a removal spell on your Memnite. Or you can go Treasure Vault, Drum, Memnite, Frogmite, turn 2 the Saga. I think depending on what they're playing, that will inform our decision on how we want to lead with this hand. But I do think it is pretty good. This hand's certainly a keep. It's just kind of, depending on what they're doing, we'll figure out how we would like to sequence. I think if they're hammer time, I'm probably just going to go for the fast Saga line. I think that is probably a little bit better. Okay, does that change things? Does that change things? Because I can play double Frogmite. Either way, I'm going to give them a card, obviously, because of the Sentinel. Because I can't pay for the Drum. Unless I wait a turn on the Drum, but then I'm... Yeah... I wonder if it's better to play double Frogmite here. It's really close. Actually, it's probably better to get the Saga going quickly, because then I have access to the Aether Spellbomb quicker. Yeah, so let's just go Saga, Drum, no pay, pass. I think I like this line. Saga, Drum, no pay. Then we can go Vault, Memnite, make a token, double Frogmite, and then we can get a Spellbomb off of this on Chapter 3 to hopefully stop their first hammer attempt. That's probably our best angle here. All right, Genius Smith. They got a Bauble, which I assume they're casting. Our casting, Smith grows. We'll take our 1. We're going to bobble us upkeep. What are we drawing? Okay, they know about the Thopter. Cool, so now we can just go Thopter, Memnite, Vault, double Frogmite, and then chill. With holding up a token. I think it's better to start making tokens than it is to try to cast a blue spell here. Because hypothetically, I could play the monitor, but if I miss on, like, another drum, I could, like... no, because I can't... Saga... Because I played the Saga first, right? So if I don't play the Treasure Vault, I have 5 artifacts. I guess I could have tapped the Drum and the Saga to play the Monitor. And then if I find a blue-producing land, I could also play the Thoughtcast, but... I don't know if that's as good as just making 2 constructs. Because my constructs are going to be much bigger than theirs. That is the one advantage you have in this matchup, is your constructs are almost always going to be bigger, sans a Colossus Hammer. Because you just have a lot more material. Okay. I don't think they're that well equipped to answer a construct token, so what I kind of want to do is just make mana, get a Shadow Spear, fire off a Memnite, play a Thought Monitor, draw 2, and then just kind of go super all-in on this construct. Do I want to give them a card off of the Sentinel? Because I certainly want to equip the Shadow Spear to the construct this turn. So it's just a question of, do I want to give them a card? I don't think I do, so let's just attack. Just send the construct. It's possible I was supposed to make a second construct and not equip the Shadow Spear this turn, because they're going to have 2 constructs, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 5s. But even at 5 5s, I don't really think they would have a good double block on my construct. I guess if they make them 6 6s, but I have the Blood Fountain in hand to even go a little bit bigger. So I think this is okay. I think the decision point that turn was whether or not to cast the Thoughtcast. Because I could have also found more free artifacts to make this attack bigger. But I could have also gotten the Spell Bomb. But I don't love the Spell Bomb as much when they're making multiple constructs, because the Spell Bomb is kind of taxed. I would like the Spell Bomb a lot more if they had, like, if they had a Sigarda's Aid draw, right? But they just have a construct draw, so. And again, they can Shadow Spear, but our construct still should be big enough to get past that. I mean, outside of something like main deck Prismatic Ending, I think we should be fine. Okay, well, that is essentially main deck Prismatic Ending. I did not expect that, the main deck Portable Hole. I don't know how many they usually play, but that's not, I don't think that's very common. Happily take 6. So, plating is lethal, because they don't have a flying blocker. Alright, let's start with... Apologize for the camera being shaky a little bit. I keep running into my desk. Let's lead on Thoughtcast, not pay for the Sentinel, because I want to give myself the ability to draw land and plating, which I did not do. But now we can go... Thoughtcast again. Now I draw the plating. Okay, let's cast the Spell Bomb, the Companion, and then we'll attack with just the Thought Monitor. So the good thing about this is that we should, like, even if they can equip the construct with Shadow Spear, I think our plating is still going to be lethal depending on how much other stuff they have. But it really all depends on, you know, whether or not they hammer me this turn or something along those lines. But because right now I have 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. The plating is 12. Plus 2 from the monitor is 14. So they would have to gain... They would have to gain at least 10 life. And right now, on board, if they equip at 7, which means 3 more artifacts to get up to 10, and then they end up going to 1. Okay, they found a blocker. Oh, they're tapping the Nexus. That's good. Unless they found another flying blocker. We'll see. We'll see what's up. Maybe they have... Man, they might have Paladin Hammer, especially if they're tapping 2 mana here. That's a little scary. Okay, equip Shadow Spirit to Construct. I like that. It's currently gaining 8 life. They can animate the Nexus to make it 9, but we still should have lethal with the plating. Yeah, they're gonna make it 9, but yeah, they go to 14 and then take Xaxes. I like Xaxes. Unless I miscounted. Okay, well now it's more than Xaxes. I will not pay for the Sentinel. And we'll tap the drum. And equip here. We'll play the bridge. And I'll attack you for 15. Cool stuff. Alright, we got game 1 against Hammer. I do think this matchup is quite bad from the Affinity side. So we're going to bring in Dispatch and Hurkyl's Recall. For sure. Needle is okay. Champion is really bad. And everything else is not great. So that's the cards we're bringing in. What are we cutting? That is the question. Welding Jar is pretty bad. The removal is mostly exile-based. I'm not in love with Ginger Brute. It is evasive, and sometimes the board gets clogged up. I'm going to cut a couple Frogmites. I don't mind trimming a Thoughtcast, because you don't have a ton of time for that stuff. And then maybe trim a Memnite, because I think flying is more important with the Ornithopters. Yeah, let's go with this. Game number 2. Here's our Jagata. And this hand has Hurkyl's Recall, double Blood Fountain after we cut one. So this hand kind of has no payoff, but we have good mana, at least something to play. I mean, I guess the cool thing about this hand... Yeah, I'm actually gonna keep this. The thing about this hand is, even if we, like, obviously the hand doesn't have action, but we have the Blood Fountains to loot if we don't find action, so I think it's actually okay. And I'm gonna lead on the tap land, I believe. Yeah, just get that into play as quickly as possible. They also didn't have a turn 1 play, so that is definitely worth noting. Yeah, I was gonna say they probably kept a Saga hand if they didn't have a turn 1 play. Alright, Mystic for Hammer. Yep. What do we got? That is an Ornithopter, not exactly what we're looking for, so let's cast that. Let's go... I think... I'm just going to play 2 Blood Fountains here. It's possible I'm supposed to loot with one of them instead of playing the second one, but... just gets more material into play. And then I can loot trying to find, you know, a Saga or a Thought Monitor, one of those cards, next turn. We do have the Recall to at least answer the first Saga, which is not too bad. I'd like to find our own Saga. That'd be nice. So I imagine they're just going to activate Saga here. Get that going. Again, we just want to find a payoff. Plating, Thought Monitor, Nettle Cyst, Saga. One of those cards. One of those cards. Another Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. Wonder if they're going to play the Hammer from their hand. Play the Shadow Spear, that makes sense. So we know they have a Hammer. That's the one they just got off the second Mystic. Okay, let's loot away this Ornithopter. I want that. Okay. Are we looting away the Ornithopter again? I think so. Okay, not exactly what we're looking for. Pass turn. Need to find a payoff. It's possible I was supposed to hold up Hurkyl's Recall that turn, because if they have Paladin, they can go float mana, get a drum, second white, play Paladin, play Hammer, draw a card. activate the Nexus, have Metalcraft, and then shoot, and then, you know, cook the Shadow Spear and the Hammer. But it's not even like Recall is that great against that setup anyways. Yeah, they do have the Paladin. Yep. Yeah, see, this is the issue with Recall. It's like, it's not bad, but when their only artifacts in play are 1-mana equipments, you're not really getting that much out of the Recall. Like, it's better if they have a Saga draw where they go, like, Construct into Construct, and then you can kind of just get some good tempo there, but... Yeah, okay. We are dead. I mean, they're going to gain 22 life. Yeah, we're done. And again, you see how awkward Recall is. They just get to replay all their stuff next turn anyway, so... Alright, we'll be going to game number 3. Let's see if we want to make any changes. I don't think we do. Maybe Needle. Maybe Needle over, like, the 3rd Blood Fountain. Because you can... Needle basically shuts off Pure Steel Paladin because they can't actually activate the hammer, so it could be good in some spots. Alright, no colored mana, but we have land, Shadow Spear, Thopter, turn 2, land plating. Draw land, we can suit the Thopter with both. I think this hand's good enough. Again, it really is missing colored mana, but I think this is like one of those hands that, again, the matchup is bad, but I think this is what a winning hand looks like. You know, plating plus Shadow Spear is kind of the direction that we want to be going towards. Alright, opponent mulls to 5. It's a decent sign, but Hammer is a deck that mulligans very well, so... Alright, play our Thopter, play our Shadow Spear, and it's your turn. Alright, they have a turn 1 Saga, and they have the drum. Okay. We have... Yep, Treasure Vault plating. Again, our play's not really changing here. We're just gonna hope we draw a land so I can shoot both up to the Thopter. 5 artifacts towards the companion. Something worth noting as well. Hopefully they don't have a portable hole to eat the plating or the Shadow Spear. I imagine if they had portable hole, they'd probably eat the Shadow Spear, because they know that one we only have 1 copy of. Whereas if they, you know, portable hole the plating and I draw another plating, which I have 4 of, which they probably would expect that as well, so... Alright, did not find a land, found another blue card that we can't cast. Question is, do I want to cycle Companion for a tapped blue land, or do I just want to go in on the plating? This is awkward. You know what I could do? I could cycle this for just another untapped land. I know it's not blue mana, but... And then I could pay use the untapped land to equip the plating. I actually kind of like that. It's a little all-in, but the cool thing is, even if they answer the... I guess I'll get a vault. If they answer the first wave of stuff, then this gives me my 3rd mana source to play the Nettle Cyst. And again, I technically have blue mana with the Treasure Vault, so it's not like I'm, you know, in desperate times I can just activate the Treasure Vault. Not that that's what I want to be doing, but I think I like this line. Alright, let's see what they got. Let's see if we're dead. Would not be surprised if we're dead. Again, I'm not really sure that there was much I could have done about it. Okay, that's a good sign. That is a very good sign for us. I like to see making a Saga token. I wonder if they're going to Needle Shadow Spear. Well, that would shut off their own Shadow Spear. At that point, they probably just get their own, right? Rather than needling our Shadow Spear. Alright, they got a drum. Okay. Removal spell on Ornithopter would actually be kind of bad. Okay. It's a lot of drums. There is a lot of drums going on here. Lots and lots of drums. Okay, Sentinel is totally fine. That I can live with. Okay. Well, can't cast the recall. This is tough. So I can play Nettle Cyst and then attack for 7, or I can equip the Shadow Spear and also attack for 7. Would have been a little bit better. See, this is a game that recall would have been on the spot, right? You know what I could do as well? I could just attack for 6, end of turn, sack the vault, make a treasure, and then recall them. I feel like that's worse, though. I think I'm just going to play Nettle Cyst to make a 7/7. I guess that's worse against the Sentinel, but it does give me a blocker, which I think is important. But maybe because of the Sentinel, I'm not supposed to take that line, because giving them a card is pretty bad. Right now, if they have Portable Hole on the Germ token, it's 17 damage, so Portable Hole plus Artifact would be 19? So not quite lethal. And now, if I draw a land, I can put the Nettle Cyst and the Shadow Spear on the Ornithopter, which should be good, depending on what they have. But yeah, maybe this line was worse than just equipping Shadow Spear, because think about it this way, gaining 7 life is essentially the same thing as making a blocker versus a construct token. Hypothetically, maybe the blocker can prevent more damage than the 7 life from the Shadow Spear, but I can also just draw a blue source and wait on the spot. That would be, you know, probably a little bit better, but I wonder if they just attack, do I block? Not sure. This has been an interesting game, for sure. Alright, they got a Stoneforge. Stoneforge happens. They got a Shadow Spear. Okay. So they can go tap the Stoneforge, the Sentinel, and the other construct, Shadow Spear up the construct, attack, and then leave back the Ornithopter. They're still dead to a land, though, because I can just go Shadow Spear, Nettle Cyst up the Thopter. So they would still be dead to a land in that case. Also, probably dead to a blue source. Well, dead to a land. You know, blue source is a land, so, you know, same thing. So this is a 16-point attack, but they didn't equip the Shadow Spear. What does that mean? They have some kind of removal spell. I think I'm supposed to take this. Although, if my plan is to equip the Nettle Cyst, maybe I just jump block. Yeah, preventing 8 life is pretty good. I guess hypothetically... Well, wait, if I take this, I can just put the plating and the Shadow Spear on this, right? Which would be 7, 14, 15 minus, yeah, 3 toughness. So they have to have something. It's got to be like some kind of disenchant, right? This is tough. 7, 8, because I can go Shadow Spear on the Ornithopter. I guess that's lethal by itself, right, currently? Because if I just put the Shadow Spear on the Ornithopter, that's 8, minus 2 is 6. Yeah, I think I'm going to block. I think blocking is good. They definitely have something. Unless their plan is to just put the Shadow Spear on the Ornithopter? No, that's not good enough, right? Yeah, Prismatic Ending. Prismatic Ending the Shadow Spear. Okay. Is that lethal? 7. That is lethal, right? Because I go tap these 2, sack this, 6, 7, 6. Yeah, it is lethal. Okay, right? make 1 treasure, and then recall you. 6 artifacts, attack for exactly 6. I believe that's lethal. Alright, recall you, attack for 6. Got him. I think we got him. Alright, cool. That was a sweet game. That was a sweet game for sure. We are 3-0. We beat Hammer Time. I do think it's a bad matchup, but that is, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So 3-0. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 4. What is up, everybody? We're back here for round number 4. Reveal our companion, and got another Lurus deck. What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? This hand seems okay. Get to go Bridge, Welding Jar, turn 2, Citadel, Plating, Frogmite. I mean, I wish I was in the play, but definitely going to keep this in the draw. I think this hand is just fine. Because I also have an evasive creature to go with the plating, which is pretty good, so... This hand is okay. Alright, Bauble, which usually means, yeah, some kind of Grixis deck. Hammer Time doesn't usually play Bauble. Alright, let's play a Jar. And a Bridge. Jar and a Bridge. Jar is actually not too bad against the Grixis decks. Especially because they usually have Kolaghan's Command game 1. Consider. Interesting. Don't usually see Consider in the Grixis decks. Alright, so plating down. That's kind of awkward, but the good thing is we drew a Saga, which means that even though we're not going to get to play plating next turn, we still do have a good turn to play with the Saga, so we just go Saga Frogmite. Yeah, no reason not to run out the Ornithopter. A little bit short on the Monitor. I mean, I could have played the Monitor instead of playing the Saga, because I could have gone Ornithopter, Citadel, and then have 5 artifacts plus the 2 mana to play the Thought Monitor. But if I go... I can't play the Ornithopter and the Saga and the Monitor, because it costs 3 and I only have 2 mana. So, I think it's better to do it this way, because I want to get the Saga going. Game 1, there's not usually a ton they have that's good against Saga. They don't play like main deck explosives or anything like that usually, so. Sometimes they have Dress Down. That's fair. They do have Dress Down, so that could be a card they have. I guess if they're playing Consider, maybe they're playing the Yendrick version with no Death Shadows. Do I care about this? Not really. I'm just gonna let it go. I'd rather save the Jar for a Construct. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is the 5th artifact, so we still can't really play anything this turn, but we can just kind of dump most of our hand next turn. Okay, that's fine. The good news is, if they're really heavy on Drown in the lock, they can't really drown any of our 7-drops, because we don't have nearly enough cards in our graveyard for that, so... Casting Ragavan, sure. Ragavan is totally fine. Don't really care that much about that. Make a 5/5. Tap. They get the draw card. Let's see what we find. Okay, so I'm definitely making a Construct. I'm not going to give up a Construct here. Question is, what are we getting? I would like to get a Drum just so I can cast a Thought Monitor this turn. Spellbomb is whatever, Gingerbread's whatever. Shadow Spear could be good, but if they're just going to kill all of our tokens anyways, I'd rather just not get the Shadow Spear. Like, we don't need the Shadow Spear to win. So let's just start with the Monitor, because they know about that. Let's see what they have. Casting Dress Down. Well, I guess that's kind of bad. Because that does mean we don't get the draw cards off the Monitor as well. Kind of frustrating, but... Alright, so they did have the Dress Down for the Saga. still not in the worst shape. Got some good pressure. We could still Giganta. If we kind of blank on a spell. Not the best spot to be in, but not the worst. It's possible I was supposed to, like, assume they had the dress down and maybe give up a Saga activation. Like, the turn before, when I could have played the companion in the monitor. Maybe I should have done that. Certainly leading on this. Which they still can't drown. Okay, let's go... Attack for 8. See what they do. And then we can play the Blood Fountain and pick up Gigantha. Assume they're going to cast a removal spell. Snapcaster Mage. Okay. Target Bolt. Sure. So I guess they're going to bolt the Thought Monitor. And then probably just block the Frogmite with the Snapcaster Mage. I have 3 cards. I kind of want to save the Thought Monitor. It's my only evasive creature. I don't really know what else the Welding Jar is doing. I think if they don't block with the Ragavan... Okay, this is totally fine. That I'm okay with. So we'll go black, play Blood Fountain... And then land, pick up Gigantha. Alright, your turn. So they go to 10, we got 4 power. They play Gigantha next turn, which they can drown, but... Because we have 6 cards in our graveyard. This is going to be one of those games where we're probably going to end up sacrificing Blood Fountain for 2 creatures. It's kind of cool that Blood Fountain can maybe mess with Drown in the Lock. Like, if you have exactly 7 cards in your graveyard, you can sack the Blood Fountain to get 2 back and, you know, make it so their Drown's less effective. I am just going to go to combat first. See what they do. They didn't pick up Lurrus, which means they definitely have something. I think if they just take the damage and don't cast a spell, like if they hold up Drown Mana, I might just hold up the Blood Fountain this turn. They're going to drown the Frogmite. Okay. I mean, if they cast another removal spell, I'll certainly slam Gigantha. The thing is, I kind of want to save the Blood Fountain to get back something better than just these two. I want to get back, like, either this or this. So I think even though there's a good chance they have another Drown here, I'd rather save the Blood Fountain to get more impactful cards back. And I'm going to hold on to the land because I might want to loot it away with the Blood Fountain. Or the Blood Token, I should say. It's been an interesting game for sure. Alright, so they can pick up and play Lurrus, which it looks like that's what they're going to do. Just need a plating. No big deal, just a plating. Plating or a Nettle Cyst. And they're tapped out, so... Plating or Nettle Cyst should win. Okay, that's not bad. Let's loot away. Didn't find anything. So now I can go attack for 2. I mean, the Saga's not great because they can just recast the Dress Down with Lurrus, but let's play the Thopter, let's play the Saga, and then we'll crack the Blood Fountain this turn. So they don't have to cast the Dress Down this turn, because they can wait for me to make a token next turn, and they can cast it. So my guess is... Okay. It's fine. I'll just give them an Ornithopter. I got extra Thopters. Doesn't really matter all that much. I'd rather just deny them cards. I take 1 more damage by chumping this instead of the Lurrus, but I think this is okay. So they're going to cast the Dress Down this turn. Interesting. Okay, sure. Alright, let's get back Jagantha and Companion. Let's do that. Maybe I should have got back Companion and Frogmite, because I'm not going to play Jagantha this turn. Well, actually, no, because I'm not going to make a Saga token, I don't think. I'm just going to attack for 2 first and see what they do. Maybe they have Snapcaster? Or they're just okay with taking 2? Sure, it's dead. Yeah, because if I make a Saga token, they're just going to hold up Dress Down, so I think I'd rather just do it this way. This also gives me more blockers for Ragavan and Lurrus, so... Yeah, there's with the fact that they can just recast this from their graveyard every turn, there's really no point in making a Saga token at this juncture. It's really just like trying to go wide. I think at this point, Thoughtcast is probably my best draw. Still a pretty close game. Okay, Jagantha down. How much more stuff can they kill? Hey, is the answer all of it? Might be. Okay. Weird sequencing. I feel like you would want to do that first. The exile. Exile, they cling to dust. That's fine. They already have a million cards anyways. Well, if they tap out, they still die to plating, so... Hopefully, we just draw plating. Or Nettle Cyst. I guess they can attack with Lurrus. Oh, they gain 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess they're not dead to plating now. And they're certainly not dead to Blood Fountain. I'm gonna think about this. So how much mana do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can play Blood Fountain, sack it to get back Monitor. They exiled the Companion. Where did they exile the Companion and not the Monitor? I'm just trying to think if there's even any reason to make a Saga token because they have the Dress Down. So I think it's better to just do this. Maybe get the Aether Spellbomb so I can try to pick up my Thought Monitor. Excuse me, could also get Shadow Spear. I don't really think that matters too much. I think I'm going to get the Spellbomb. I don't think I'm going to use it this turn, but... Oh, I messed up. I don't have black mana. Okay, this was bad. I thought I had black mana to sack the Fountain and then still blue mana to be able to play the Thought Monitor, but I'm short a colored source, so I should have got a Springleaf Drum. Yeah, this is super awkward now. Yeah, that was a mistake. No attacks because I want to block the Lurrus. Yeah, I should have got a drum there, because then I would have been able to have a blue and a black mana, so I could use the black to sack the Blood Fountain, and then use the other drum to play the Monitor. Yeah, so I should have done that for sure. I could still sack this EOT, which is not too bad, but... I feel like this game is slowly slipping away. I mean, the good thing about our opponent's deck is they don't really have a ton of win conditions. So, I don't know. Okay, dead. I'm not gonna bounce it. Red dash Ragavan. This time I'll just take the 5. This time I will just take the 5. Well, that would have been a good draw. That would have been a good draw. All right, sack the fountain. Get those two back. I'm probably not going to cast the Thought Monitor this turn because of the dress down, but guess I should do this. Yeah, I'm going to wait on the Thought Monitor. Man, this game was close. I feel like we're probably close to 0%. I don't know if we're quite at 0%. We're pretty close. I guess I'll bounce it. Guess I will bounce it. Make them have another thing. Don't even know if it's really that good, but... Okay. Still taking 5. I guess I'll take 7 this time. Hit a bridge. Good. I didn't want to draw land. Position, even though they knew my hand. I guess what are they saving it for? Just gonna play the dress down again. God, Lyra's dress down is so messed up. Just like not really a ton that I can do. Yeah, is there any reason to even play this? No, I'm still gonna wait. Still gonna wait, no attacks. I guess the question is, what am I waiting for? They're just gonna cast dress down every turn, right? So I'm never gonna have an opportunity to get the monitor into play without a dress down. And holy heat. I mean, at this point, maybe I'm just playing for clock. It has been they have taken 10 minutes and they still haven't won this game yet, so, you know. Again, that's kind of the product of just playing a deck that has so few win conditions, but... Alright, Colgan's command. It seems like we're dead. Cool. Alright. We have lost game number 1. Alright, so I don't really like Dispatch. Again, they just have no creatures, basically. It's just Ragavan and Snapcaster Mage, so Dispatch seems bad. Lantern is great. I like Rebuke. I don't think they can beat Champion. Tezzeret seems awesome. This seems like a really good Tezzeret matchup. I'm going to cut some Ornithopters, keep Ragavan, or keep Memnites because of Ragavan. I'm going to cut the Gingerbrute. I'm going to cut a couple of Frogmites. I don't mind trimming Companion, maybe? I got to cut 3 more cards. Probably don't need the Shadow Spear. I think the Aether Spellbomb is also not great. And what's the last cut? Yeah, maybe a Companion's fine. The thing about the Affinity cards is a lot of times, like, their deck has so much removal, they're just killing literally everything you play, that the Affinity cards can really cause some awkward draws. So I don't mind trimming a bunch of the Affinity cards. Lands and spells I'm going to keep. This is one of those matchups where it's just card quantity is way more important than card quality. I mean, this hand has some good cards in it, too. It's not like it's a terrible hand, but... Quantity over quality for sure in this matchup. Tezzeret's probably my best card anyways, so... Alright, so they're probably going to take the drum. And taking the drum really messes with my hand. Well, they took Nettle Cyst, okay. Fine with that. Let's play the Memnite, play the Frogmite. Frogmite actually wasn't a bad draw, because now we can hold up Rebuke. So, all things considered, the Frogmite was not a terrible draw. What's this? This is a Darcy. I really just want to draw a land here so I can slam Tezzeret. They're going to pass. Okay, passing is fine. Blood Fountain. That is not a land. Okay. I'm going to... I want to cast the Blood Fountain first, because if for some reason they counter it, I'm not going to attack with the Frogmite. I would just hold it back to hold up the Rebuke, but if I tap this to cast the Fountain and leave back one of my creatures, they can kill the creature to make it so I can't cast Rebuke, so I think it's not worth giving up the 1 damage. I'm just going to let that die. Or it's not worth the 1 damage. I think it is worth giving up the 1 damage. Should say. Thing is, their counterspell is usually Drown in the Locks, so... I have a feeling that would resolve. I mean, I guess this is bad if they have Kolaghan's Command, because now they can just K-Command the Nettlecyst and the Memnites. Maybe I'm not supposed to cast the Nettlecyst there, but, like, I can't just wait forever, you know? I don't think I can. But it seems like they do have Kolaghan's Command. They do play a lot of them. So it's not terribly surprising that they have it, but... I assume they kill the Memnite here, right? Easily. Making me discard. Very strange when I have the Drum. I feel like you would rather kill the Memnite there, unless they have a removal spell in their hand. Maybe it makes more sense. Alright. Cast the Plating. Unfortunately can't attack or equip and attack. I'd rather equip than give up the 1. I'd rather equip than attack for 1. Even though they're probably just going to kill it anyways, so... Now I have 4 cards in the graveyard, so they can drown my... just... Everything is bad. Everything is bad. It's a good draw. It's probably the best draw in my deck. I don't know if it's good enough, but... equip... I'm actually going to play the Mistvault Bridge and not the Blood Fountain in case they make me discard a card. I do not want to discard this Tezzeret. Tezzeret's how I'm going to win this game. Yeah, so they're going to snap command. If they make me... That's a good reason to not play the Fountain. Because I don't want to discard the Tezzeret. I mean, I think they might just go kill Plating Shock Monitor, but we'll see. They made me discard last time. Well, they're making me discard again. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Alright, are they out of stuff yet? How about now? Alright, now they're out of stuff, Luris. Please give me a land. Please give me a land or a 0-mana creature. That kind of counts, right? Oh, no, it costs 1. I guess I could just play this and pick up Gigantha. It's probably better than doing anything else, right? Alright, Gigantha, go. Now if they make me discard, I can discard Gigantha, not the Tezzeret. I don't think this version plays Kroxa, though, so... It's really just Kolaghan's Command. Alright, there's the Luris. Nothing to cast off the Luris, though, so... Not too scary. Okay. Question is, what am I doing with Tezzeret? Do I just start making... Is it more important to make a 5/5? Well, let's cast it and see if they want to counter it. I do want to leave up my Gigantha, though. Or my companion. Okay, they let it resolve. So the question is, do we go down or do we go up? If I can't really go down and attack with both. If I'm going down, I have to leave back a creature. At least one. There's also the argument to just minus and pass, no attacks. And then I can minus next turn. I mean, it's probably better to just go uptick, right? Just keep +++. Try to just get them dead. Ooh, I'll take a champion. I will take a champion and no attacks. Oh yeah, because they're just dead, right? Yeah, it's just easy ++. Because this is... I keep forgetting the ult is -4. Yeah, I keep forgetting the ult is -4. For some reason, I always think it's -5. Let's see if they found a removal spell. Okay, they're keeping the bauble. Okay. Well, now they have to suicide the Lurrus to not get the Tez ulted, right? No? They could have also attacked with the Snapcaster Mage. If I block, then they can recast the Snapcaster, right? Alright, minus. Am I missing something? Okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like they were probably supposed to attack with the Snapcaster there, because if they hadn't played anything off of the Lurrus yet, right? So if they don't play the Bauble and they just attack the Tezzeret with the Snapcaster, either Tezzeret takes 2, or if I block the Snapcaster, they can then replay the Snapcaster and then heat the Tezzeret. So I would have to just no block there, because I can't lose the Tezzeret. So, maybe a small mistake, but... Anyways, game number 3. All the marbles. This hand looks very good. I'm going to keep it. A little bit worse if they have a discard spell for my Springleaf Drum, but let's hope that doesn't happen. Or maybe they take the plating like they did the last time. They took the payoff the last time, but... Or they just don't have the discard spell. That also works. Okay, let's lead on Vault. Drum. Always play the drum first. Remember, if you play the Memnite first, they can kill the Memnite in response to you playing the drum. So, in situations like this, you always want to play the drum before the Memnite. Don't forget about that. Okay, I am going to lead with Ornithopter and Thoughtcast. I'm doing all this before playing my land in case I find a Saga. Alright, how about a Jar? Is Jar good? Can I have a Jar? I kind of want to play Plating here, because if I play Thoughtcast, then the Plating can get drowned next turn. Whereas if I just play the Plating this turn, they can't drown it, and then they still won't be able to counter the Thoughtcast next turn. So I think this makes more sense. Sometimes these decks also have Counterspell in their sideboard, and because my opponent has a Blackcleave Cliffs, I don't think they have any Counterspell for the Plating there, so I think that was good. Good sequencing. Third Plating, huh? Alright, let's go with the Thoughtcast first. Metallic Rebuke, huh? Okay, let's go equip the... I'm going to equip the Memnite because it makes it less suspicious when I'm holding up the Rebuke here. Because I don't want to play the other drum. Because I just want to hold up Rebuke. Question is, if they cast Kolaghan's Command, do I counter the Rebuke, or do I just... We'll see what the modes are. If they go something like Shatter Plating, make me discard, I'll just regen the Plating. So they're going Shatter and Shock. I think this is worth rebuking. I think I like this. They just take 9. Just a casual 9. Because if I regen the Plating, I still lose the Memnite. So I think this ends up being better. It's pretty close. Blue. What do we got? They're just passing. They can't snap command here. Alright, how about another Plating? Is that one good? Can I have a Plating? Problem is I might run out of creatures, because I only have 2 creatures now. Blue, black. Drown. Okay. So I currently have 9 artifacts. Which means there's no reason to play the Plating pre-combat. I wonder if there was a world where I could have gotten double black. If I played the Vault first... No, because my second black source comes in the form of tapping a creature, and if I attack with both, I don't have a second black. What's the best way to do this? Assuming they have a removal spell for Memnite, I will likely have to jar it. Okay, let's just go to attacks. Let's just attack with the Memnite. And then I can post-combat play the other plating. Although, if I jar the Memnite, and they have explosives on 2 to kill both platings, then I am in a world of hurt. So maybe I jar the Memnite and just don't play the plating? It's really nice to get the plating in play under a counterspell, though. And they generally have more counterspells than they do platings, or explosives. So I think this is fine. Maybe this is just too bad against explosives, but it's really close. I don't know if they would even bring in the card Counterspell. I know that Yendrick's list had Counterspell in the sideboard. I don't know if that's a card they would even bring in this matchup, but something to think about at least. Okay, that's a good start for us. Because now if they find explosives, they have to do it on 0 because they don't have enough mana to do it for 2 and pop it. So at least we would get to keep the platings. So any creature would be a good draw. They exiled the Tarn. They played the Tarn. What we got? What do we got? Consider. Consider resolves. They kept it, I think. It's hard to tell. Okay. Let's go... Whip the Ornithopter. I will go to attacks. So they need 2 removal spells here, which they might have. Nope, they've conceded from the game. All right, we're 4-0 with Affinity. That was a really grindy match. Super interesting games that I think are going to be pretty enjoyable. We got a trophy match to play, so I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 5. Alrighty, everybody, it's time to play the trophy match. We're 4-0. Our opponent did not reveal a companion, and our hand is actually quite good. We get to go Citadel, Drum, Ornithopter, Blood Fountain, Frogmite, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 permanents. If I draw a 0-mana artifact, I can play the companion as well on turn 1. Opponent goes to 5 pretty quickly. Could be Tron. I feel like Tron traditionally is a tough-ish matchup for Affinity, but our hand's quite aggressive, so we'll see. Nope, Flooded Strand. So Murktide. I wonder how good the Murktide matchup is. I feel like it's probably close. I guess you don't have a lot of ways to interact with the card Murktide Regent, but you have Spell Bomb, so... Okay. So... Is there a better way to do this? Citadel Drum. And then we go Ornithopter. Yeah, there's not really a better way to do this, right? Ornithopter, Blood Fountain, Frogmite. Trying to think if there was a way we could play more stuff, but I don't think there is. Yeah. 1 short. 6 permanents on turn 1. You know, we'll take that. I'll take 6 permanents on turn 1. They have a Channeler. Let's see if they're going to cast a Bolt. No bolts. Alright, let's play another Drum. Let's play a Companion. Ooh, they have a Spell Pierce. Okay. I was wondering if they were going to do that, knowing about the Thoughtcast. Because they know we have a Thoughtcast in hand, so I'm actually kind of surprised they fired off the Pierce. I guess if they don't fire off the Pierce and I don't cast the Thoughtcast, then maybe that was their worry, but I am going to cast the Thoughtcast. And play some 4/4s. Yeah, I gotta play these pre-combat just in case they double block. I mean, I don't think there's a world they ever double block there, but you never know. They only have 1 card in their hand. If it's a Murktide Regent, they can make a 5/5, which is pretty good against our companions. But I feel like if it's not a Murktide Regent, they're probably going to be in rough shape here. Alright, looks like they do have the Murktide. The good news is they can't really attack with said Murktide. because then they just get clapped with they just get clapped by the 2/4/4s. So we're going to be at a bit of a stalemate now, and I at least get to start off with a Thoughtcast, which is always good. I'm actually going to leave. Let's tap the Memnite. Okay, I can't cast that. Is it worth looting away the Ginger Brute? No, because I have the Nettle Cyst, I think I'd rather keep the Ginger Brute. There's some consideration to looting it away to try and find, like... Even if I find a blue card, I can't cast it, so... That's the reason why I don't want to get rid of the Brute. Like, if I had a blue source, looting it away is reasonable because I could try to find a Thoughtcaster or a Monitor, but given that I don't have another blue source, it's probably better to just play it, and I have the equipment in my hand, so... They are bolting the Ginger Brute. That's fine by me. And they have no cards. Let's see if they keep a Carpet Channeler. They're thinking about this one. I feel like the only card they would want to keep at this point is, yeah, Expressive Iteration. It's probably correct to bin a Bolt there. But again, they can't really attack, because they can't trade 6 for 8. We can't attack either, but... I'm fine chilling, because we found a Nettle Cyst. I could hold the Memnite there, but... I'm keeping the Ornithopter back just in case they set up Delirium, and maybe I want to chump block with the Thopter, but... Alright, they have had enough. Up a game against Murktide. That feels good. Alright, what are we doing against Murktide? I think I like Dispatch, because our deck has a pretty significant weakness to the card Murktide Regent. I like Lantern, Needle's bad, Recall's bad. I don't really think I like Rebuke. See, it's kind of... I understand their deck has a lot of counterspells, but it's kind of a similar argument to us not bringing it in against the other Ragavan deck that we played against on the draw, where it's like, sometimes on the draw against Ragavan, having situational counterspells like that can just be really awkward at times. So I think I'm going to elect to not bring it in. The Champion... I do think I want the Champion, so that's 5 cuts. Let's go... I'm going to trim one of each. Ornithopter, Memnite. I'm going to trim a Frogmite. I'm going to trim... maybe a Companion too. Because Companion doesn't actually line up that well against Murktide Regent. And then, because we're cutting all of this stuff, maybe also trim a Blood Fountain. Because this is probably just a pure racing matchup where I'm not going to have time to sack Blood Fountain. Let's go with this. I like that. Maybe trimming a Thoughtcast is okay too, because it can sometimes line up awkwardly against Spell Pierce if you're short on mana, but... Alright, so this hand is interesting. I think it's a keeper, because we have a Memnite to block Ragavan. I can go turn 1 Bridge Memnite, turn 2 Saga Blood Fountain, and we can do stuff that way. Alright, cool. We do have the Memnite. Hopefully draw another Memnite. Okay, that's interesting. Do I want to let the Ragavan hit me? Because what I could do... This could be a turn 1 Saga hand. I could go Saga, Drum, Pass. Turn 2, Treasure Vault, Memnite, make a Saga token. I feel like that's worse, though. You know what? Let's go with this line. Let's go Memnite, Bridge, Pass. I think I like that line the best. I don't want to go Treasure Vault, Drum, tap the Memnite to play the Blood Fountain because I want to block the Ragavan. I'd much rather have that set up. All right, let's see if they have a Bolt for the Memnite. That would be a little awkward if they did. Bobbling us, and they do have the Bolt. Which means they're going to get to see, hit the top card that they already looked at. So they know what our top card is. It was a Darksteel Citadel. Okay. Welding Jar. Oh, I definitely meant to click on the Saga there. That is really awkward. I definitely meant to click on the Saga there. Well, that's gonna probably cost me. Yep, I definitely meant to click on that Saga there. And we have 6 artifacts, so I can't play the Companion. That's unfortunate. I was hovering over the Treasure Vault, and I went to go try to hover over to the Saga, but apparently I didn't get there in time before my mouse decided to click, or my finger decided to click on the mouse. That is awkward, but misclicks happen. We move on. I mean, I could play 2 Companions next turn, so I can at least blank the Ragavan. Issue is if they have a Murktide region here, they get to smash for 5, make a treasure, play at 5/5. So we might be a little too far behind in the race. They can't cast that. They can cast this if they have a land, which they do. Do they see if they know how it works? Or they would just rather hold up Counterspell anyways, but they are allowed to cast this. You can announce you're casting Affinity spell and then sacrifice the treasures to pay for it. Okay. It's not great. Okay, they're not sacking it now. All right, let's play Saga. Let's play Gingerbrute. Companion. Companion. And now, question is, do I want to pick up Gigantha? I think I do. So let's go tap these 2 and the Gingerbrute to pick up Gigantha, and we can just pass. And this leaves me back with the 2 4/4s to brick the Ragavan. Good news is if they don't find a Murktide in the next 2 turns, we can get a we can get a Soul Guide Lantern to exile their graveyard. All right, I'm gonna let the first one go. If they have another heat, then maybe I'll jar the Companion, but all right, I'll take 3. That's totally fine. They have 2 cards left. I feel like one of them's a Murktide, and that's not great for us. Yep, they have Murktide. This would have been a lot better if I had that Saga in play, because I could have gotten an Aether Spellbomb next turn. So that might ultimately cost me, that misclick. We get to be in the play for game 3 if this doesn't go well, though, so. And they have artifact land in their graveyard. Wonder if Gigantha is not where we want to be. Because I could just loot the Gigantha away. Actually, kind of like that. It's just not really doing that much this game. Plating, huh? Plating is an interesting one. Okay, what happens if I plating up the Sojourner's Companion? So I go tap the bridge, tap the Saga, play plating. Tap the drum, tap the Gingerbrute, equip the plating. Play the Frogmite and attack and leave only the Frogmite back. Then I'm dead to a Bolt, right? Block the Ragavan, take 7, die to Bolt. It's probably going to be hard for me to beat a Bolt anyways. Because they can, like, my best plan against Bolt is to, like, try to two-turn clock them with Gingerbrute plus plating. Which they can just bolt the Gingerbrute anyways, so. They also might have a counterspell as their last card, so we should probably cast this and then reassess. Alright, they don't have a counterspell. I think I just have to go for it, honestly. I'm giving them perfect information by playing the Frogmite here, but... Alright, 13, yeah. Don't think they're blocking. I guess blocking gives them an extra type towards Delirium, but they still only have 3 types. I mean, I guess, yeah, now Bolt kills us still, but... Because Bolt is a 4th type, they bolt us to 7, attack us for 9. But, again, we're just losing to Bolt anyways, so... think we are in a spot where we just can't play around that. Heat also kind of gets us good. They don't currently have Delirium, though. Because I feel like as long as we can get to Shadow Spear up this Cranial Plating creature, if we can get one hit in, then I think we're probably golden. But it's kind of a tough ask, you know? Kind of a tough ask. Yeah, there's really no point to making construct tokens because they have the E on 0. Let's see what they got. EE for 2. Okay, but that doesn't really do anything because I can just jar the plating. Yeah, so that actually doesn't really do anything because I can just regenerate the plating. Also, think they should have cast that pre-combat to maybe attack with the Channeler. Alright, let's just make mana. Alright, let's get the Shadow Spear. Let's equip the Shadow Spear here. Might as well play the Monitor pre-combat too. Oh, they actually found a Heat? Oh, no. But they have 0 cards. They put a card on top of their library. Oh, no. I have to let this die because I need to save the jar for the explosives. Okay, so I have to let this die. I guess I can use it for mana. Alright, that's dead. Yeah, I can't afford to regen it because they can just pop this on 2. Basically, I'm never winning if this plating doesn't die. Or I'm never winning if this plating does die, I should say. What are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. Okay, Heat resolves. Equip no longer resolves. So I should probably start with the Monitor, see where we go. That is a blocker. Treasure Vault, Urza Saga. So I think what I'm going to do is go Saga, equip the Frogmite, and attack for 3. Equip the Frogmite with Shadow Spear, I should say, because I just want to gain 3 life. Because this puts me at 7, which means if their top card is not a removal spell for Thought Monitor, I can... Well, I guess it's the same thing, right? Yeah, either way, if they have a removal spell, I'm dead. They did keep a card on top, too, so we're probably in bad shape. If, like, for some reason, maybe they randomly trade. They'll never trade here, but... Yeah, they kept the card on top. I guess my hope is that they kept an iteration and I just have to hope they brick. But yeah, we're dead to any removal spell. Because even if I regen the Monitor, it still gets tapped by the Welding Jar. Unfortunately, I would have rather just drawn a land, to be honest with you. Okay, they're going to attacks first. Okay, block. Happily block. Again, still not sacking the jar because I have to save it for the explosives. What did they draw? It's not a removal spell because they would have just killed me, right? Unless they maybe just miscounted? Equip here. I wonder what they drew. Because they kept the card on top, but if it was a removal spell, they would have just cast it, right? Alright, regen the plating. Am I missing something? Wonder if I'm missing something. Okay, plating gets regenerated. It is now a 12. And I will go to combat. Attack with both. That's 13. Make a construct to force the activation on the Saga. Because they can just force the activation on the explosives, I should say. Because they can just pop this to not die. Still got a 1, though. And we're nowhere near dead. Yep, that happens. So they go to 1, and we go to 16. They currently have 9 in play. They have a card in their hand that they kept. I don't know what that card is, but... Okay, Serum Visions is fine. I'm very, very intrigued as to what they topped last turn. Maybe they just thought that I couldn't regen the plating? It's the only thing that makes sense. So maybe they just messed up. They thought that maybe they forgot about the jar and they thought the plating was going to die. It's the only thing that kind of makes sense. Maybe they top like a counter spell? Not sure. What's this? Blue, Consider. And that was a card they kept. But a removal spell isn't good enough because I can just activate this thing. So removal spell is not good enough. Even if they kill this, this is still lethal, which they can't block. You can also get a spell bomb. I can't believe I won this game. Yeah, I think they definitely made I think they definitely made a mistake there. Not exactly sure what they were supposed to do, but... Alright, let's just get the spell bomb, just to, you know, make sure that no funny business can happen. Let's just get the spell bomb. Do we got? What is our opponent up to over there? They are a-thinking. Alright, let's get the spell bomb. Let's crack the spell bomb. Bounce your creature. What do we got? We'll go to combat. They have a blue fog that I don't know about? Or is this trophy time? Trophy time! Alright, let's go! Trophying with Affinity in 2021. Go ahead and take a quick screen cap of this so I can get my clout from it and share it to Twitter. That was exciting. That was exciting. Yeah, this deck is sweet. So I really hope if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. My parting thoughts on the deck felt really good. Blood Fountain came up a couple of times. In terms of sacrificing it, that didn't happen very often, but just having more, you know, more permanence on the battlefield just gives you more explosive draws, so was a pretty big fan of that. There's probably not much I would change. I mean, usually when you 5-0, you don't really want to change that much. But there was nothing that I really didn't like, you know? The Nettlecysts were nice. I wouldn't play more than 2 copies. I think 2 is good because they're kind of clunky sometimes. I like the Gingerbrute, love the Jar. Tezzerets were good. Recalls maybe could be something else for the Hammer Time matchup, but overall, deck was great. Again, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, be sure to smash the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.